welcome to Leaders of Tomorrow, the only show right now on Indian television where you, the MSME, get center stage to voice your opinions and thoughts. This is ET Now, special daily initiative to give MSMEs and entrepreneurs the opportunity to be front and center on every industry and area that matters to you. Today on Direct Connect, a panel of experts will answer all the questions that you have sent in to us earlier, and on Small Giants tonight, we will feature Chai Point. Mr. Dalal, Vishal, pleasure as always having both of you here with us tonight. Let's take in our first query that's coming to us from Nevi Ramawat. Nevi says, and this is an email, and we'll give you your email ID at the end of the show if you too have a query for our experts. Nevi says, they're a stockbroking firm and they offer online share trading. How do they tackle technological issues faced by the organization depending upon the costs involved? So if they are primarily in the business of offering online share trading, we would assume that technology, and have a strong tech base. But if there are some issues, there's some challenges there, what would you have to say?
Okay. The second largest team in any stockbroking company after the broking team itself is a technology team. So, a leading stockbroking company, as I know, have adopted very sound practices to make sure that they overcome these challenges by having a proper mix of in-house as well as outsourced resources and balancing it by hiring a chief technology officer. For a stockbroking firm, you need a very strong person who can balance the internal as well as external resources and make sure that you are live and kicking all the time, because it's a very sensitive kind of a market where you are completely dependent on technology. So I suggest a proper mix of hiring in-house developers and technology team to make sure that your processes are very robust. At the same time, outsourcing the non-core activities like further development, IT security, data protection, to make sure that your cost is in control.
Okay. I fully agree. It's a very competitive field where there are many brokerage firms, and even the brokerage has come down. Like even if SEBI permits I think 1% or 2%, there are many brokerage firms who get 10 paisa and 20 paisa also. So the margin is very low, but technology platform has to be very robust, and it should be like live code should be there, various reports should be generated, there should be cash, derivatives, all kinds of features have to be there in the, and it should be always working all the time, like it cannot afford to be failing. Therefore, I think technological platform is very important for a brokerage firm, and I mean in-house or external assistance as can be afforded must be obtained.
Okay. So Nevi, our experts are saying that next to your stockbroking team, your technology team has to be your core strength. So keep that in mind if you think you're facing any technological issues or challenges. Our next query is coming to us from S. Prakash. Go ahead, Prakash.
Basically, I run a small homestay. The aggregate turnover of our homestay is less than 20 lakhs annually, and we don't come under GST. But there has been a lot of confusion with a lot of the online travel agencies which register and sell us. I just wanted to know, if we don't, since we don't come under GST, if we don't have a GST number, is there any problem to do business with large companies who are under GST? I can understand doing business with anybody who doesn't come under GST at all, has nothing to do with GST. But I want to know whether there is going to be any difference at all, because we will not have a GST number and our invoice will not carry that number.
This is quite a tricky question. So let me come to you on that, Vishal.
See, going forward, let's accept that registering for GST is the way out. Okay. Without getting registered, or even for that matter getting registered under composition scheme, the larger set of companies may not be very keen on sourcing things from you, because reverse charge mechanism is applied and the administrative burden actually goes to the recipient.
So he's talking about micro companies. Will
yes.
they also come under the ambit?
Yes. So what is going to happen is that going forward, see, certain things in GST government has been vocal about, but certain thing which they have implied, and one of the implied thing is that they have kept it very inconvenient for the larger set of companies to take credit when they are sourcing anything from non registered companies or from companies registered under composition scheme. So, the writing is very clear on the wall that if you aspire to grow big or service your larger customers, it is better that you get registered under GST, and believe me, after registration you will realize that the compliance is far simpler compared to any of those earlier legacy draconian laws.
Sure.
Yeah, only I think below 20 lakhs turnover per annum is very small actually, and therefore I think whoever, I mean, they should get registered, because large corporates will avoid companies which are not registered GSTN, because then they can't show in their invoice, and therefore it is advisable that companies get registered.
Okay, so voluntarily even the micro companies, the really small companies should, because it is in their best interest and it's more advantageous to register than not. That's in response to your query, Prakash. Thanks for calling in with that. Murli Sethi is sending us this next question via email. Murli says they are into the paper industry and they make craft paper from basic raw material for corrugating industries. The quality of technology, he says, is upgrading, and there's a lot of competition due to heavy demand and supply. How do they face such severe competition? He says in their business, there's a lot of capital required for upgradation and modernization. To meet requirements, he says, they have to approach financial institutions, whereas they charge heavy rates of interest. How do they face this challenge? And also, he's written in to us to say that they are also facing a labor shortage, and how do they get quality manpower? So, one is of course the financing for their working capital needs, and the second is on the HR as well as the labor bit.
Okay, so I think I'll add one more to it. The first one he's talking about is competition, so the rates. So let's answer these three questions very logically. Number one, when it comes to rates, see in his industry, in paper industry in particular, there have been in last 1.5 years many exhibitions that have happened in paper innovation. So, lot of these companies in Germany have come up with machines where new kind of corrugated products could be brought out into the market, and companies, the paper manufacturing companies who have gone there and kind of procured those kind of machines, they have really got a price advantage. So, they are able to price their products in a way premium manner compared to all other traditional legacy companies. So, he can look at innovation by bringing in new kind of products, and that is where he is linking the second part, that to innovate or to get that kind of capital equipment, he would need funding. So, there is a lot of support available in terms of Make in India from the government if he plans to procure the machinery from abroad. In terms of higher rate of interest, if he is getting machines from abroad, he can also look at external commercial borrowing, which would come at a much lower cost compared to the traditional domestic bank loans that are available in India. And the third question, which is again linked to his second question, is that he is facing labor shortage. All these machines, they are not very labor intensive. So, going forward, by innovating and getting new machinery from abroad, I think he should be able to address all the three.
No, as regards the interest rates, they are not very high unless he is talking about the informal sector where he is borrowing funds, because banks rates are more or less like within a range, like whatever base rate plus margin, which reflects the small margin profit plus risk premium. So, that may not be very high. And second thing is about
the labor as well.
Labor, I think labor again is facing a problem. So, I think on the job training can be provided.
Murli, that was in response to your query. Before we wind down this episode, gentlemen, we seem to be getting a lot of queries when it comes to raising of finance, and that seems to have been the majority of questions. So, Mr. Dalal, to you, my question is, one or two things that you want to leave our MSMEs with about financial hygiene. What should they keep in mind?
One is, of course, they should have their accounts, like they should keep their financial accounts ready. They should have a business plan ready, and they should be willing to openly discuss with their lenders what their financial requirements are. They should be able to articulate and impress on the lenders as to what the requirements are, how they are going to be able to repay those loans. And for that, number of schemes are there. Mudra scheme is there up to 10 lakhs rupees. No collateral is required. They have to go to primary lending institutions like commercial banks or NBFCs. And SIDBI is providing the refinance under their special dispensation. They can go to commercial banks. There is a CGT SME is there, where without collateral up to 2 crores loan can be given by banks. So basically they should have a sound business plan. They should be able to maintain accounts properly, and whatever is there, they should frankly discuss what collaterals they have, what they don't have. And if the plan is good, the bank is willing to provide finance.
Okay, very quickly to you, Vishal. We were just talking about why it's beneficial for small companies, micro companies, even if they don't have to come under the GST ambit, to ensure they have the registration. In terms of GST, in terms of hygiene for GST for companies, one or two things that you quickly want to leave our viewers with.
Okay. So now this GST is getting implemented in a very systematic and a smooth manner. Now, GSTR 3B is something which needs to be filed for the first 2 months, where you declare your purchase and sale by yourself, and government will trust whatever you have declared. Post 2 months, the compliance will go in such a way that you have to file R1, R2 will come to you automatically, which will eventually lead you to R3. So in terms of basic hygiene, you have to ensure 2 things. One is, whenever you are billing to your customer, make sure that you have his complete details, including his state code and GST number, and the same applies when you are purchasing something from your supplier, because this will ensure smooth flow of credits in the entire value chain. Secondly, in case if you are a micro or a medium or a small enterprise, a voluntary registration and compliance will help you to kind of grow very quickly, because you now have a window of opportunity of being a preferred supplier just because you are, amongst the first few who have a GST number. Because having a GST number reduces a lot of compliance burden on your customer. So you can look at GST registration as one more value add as a customer service that you are providing to your larger customer, and he would be very happy to deal with you if you provide your GST number and take his GST number while invoicing.
Sure. All right. Gentlemen, thank you both as usual very much for taking time out and coming down to our studio and answering all of the questions that have come in. Time for a break. On the other side, we'll feature Chai Point on our Small Giants segment. Just stay tuned. Welcome back. You're with us here on Leaders of Tomorrow, and tonight on Small Giants, we're bringing you the story of Chai Point. The ritual of drinking tea is ubiquitous in India, transcending all boundaries, and in a city like Mumbai, where there's no substitute for cutting chai, this hot beverage company has grown from a QSR or a quick service restaurant to a tea dispenser provider, all in just a matter of 7 years. Anshua Banerjee caught up with the founder of Chai Point to bring you tips on how tea startups are aiming for that perfect brew. Take a look.
In India, chai is more than just a cup of tea. The sweet drink is unanimous to every Indian household, making it an integral part of the rhythm of life. Whether it is trying to get out of bed or struggling through a stressful day at work, a hot cup of tea can work wonders and help one get through the toughest of days. In India, tea isn't just a beverage, it's a feeling over which people have bonded over the years. In the quest of creating such new bonds is Chai Point, which is aiming to brew a brand from tea. Tea is quintessential in every Indian household. So when and how did the idea of delivering chai hit you? And what was the initial inspiration like in brewing up the business?
See, essentially during the course of my working life here in India, I realized that the last mile access around chai is broken. It is such an integral part for every Indian, but the last mile accessibility to a good, clean, hygienic cup of chai was just so rare, right? As a result, people would compromise hygiene, they would compromise, the quality just to get this fix or get this daily cup of chai. Having worked abroad, lived abroad, I realized that if it's such an important beverage, then it's only an anomaly in the current time that this last mile part is broken, or somebody sooner or later is going to come in and fix that, last mile access.
So in the current scene in India, millennials are choosing chai over coffee. Tea is getting the center stage when it comes to online ventures and startups. Your thoughts, please.
I came across a report which said that roughly 45% of the millennials in the US prefer tea over coffee, right? As that happened, right, this had an even bigger impact, or I would say it's having even a bigger impact out here in India, where tea is the main beverage, but it never had that kind of a sheen and gloss and a marketing headwind. As that has come in, it has given confidence to a lot of young entrepreneurs and also to large established players that they need to go after tea and really kind of give it the kind of sheen, gloss, and finally respect that the beverage needs.
So with so many online players crowding the market, talk to us about your USP, your survival strategies in the market.
Online and offline, these are all, incidental. Our goal is to come across as the most credible brand, and by that I mean a brand which can give a great cup of chai with reliable quality and, more importantly, a high level of consistency day in, day out to our target segment. Delivery has become a mainstay of our life, not only in F&B, but of course in retail, apparel, and and that's the force behind e-commerce, right? So for a company like ours, which is fixated on the ritual of chai, right, we are hungrily taking on every channel which will allow our chai beverage to reach our target customer.
So I want to talk about technology in the food space, and clearly you're a step ahead. Please talk to us about Boxy.
We went after the corporate model almost 3-4 years ago, and about a year ago we launched a 100% automatic IoT based solution wherein essentially you could have an authentic glass of chai prepared through a dispenser. Right? As a brand, we are all about elevating tea and the experience of chai. That's very, very important to us. And what we observed is that for chai, the kind of solutions that were available in offices were of very low quality fundamentally, right? Typically, you would have a premixed mixture to which you add hot water, and you would get something which is close to chai.
So when it comes to tea, India is the second largest producer in the world, but not many of us know about its several kind of varieties. So talk to us about the key features at Chai Point which makes it different from other players in the market.
What we are after is to service the ritualistic needs of chai for our consumers, right? And by that, we fundamentally believe the brew which every Indian desperately wants at the start of the day, several times during the day, and at the end of the day. There are several parts where people don't prefer chai with milk. There are some parts where people prefer chai with salt instead of sugar. But we've zeroed on to our target segment, which is the white collar working Indian, and we are saying that this is the segment which has chai as a need. So what are the kind of various variants that we can make available to service this need?
So how have the new financial laws affected the business at Chai Point? Will GST bring in a reduction in logistics cost and time across states?
See, frankly, it's still very early days for us to see the net impact of GST. At a broader tea level, 5% taxation, I think tea and coffee has been appreciated as a product category which the mass market consumes. So I think the government has taken the right step in giving it a relatively the lowest possible taxation slab. On logistics and the overall supply chain, we are yet to see the final impact. Frankly, as a company of our size, we've had to work very hard, especially our finance and supply chain teams in the last month or so, to make sure that all our systems, IT systems, and all our processes conform to GST.
So as we put an end to this conversation, how do you visualize growing at Chai Point, and are you planning to collaborate with some offline players in the market?
I firmly believe that even in today's world of digital economy and convenience and automation and IoT and so on, the store format is very, very relevant, especially in F&B. So for us, opening more and more stores will be a very real part of our growth journey for the next several years. This year, this financial year, we should be opening up roughly 40 odd stores, and I think we will sustain this kind of a momentum for the next 3 to 4 years for sure.
With innovative tea flavors and unique interiors, Chai Point successfully kickstarts the day and keeps offices across the country running in a market that was so far dominated by coffee chains. With Boxy.in, which is India's first cloud-based beverage services platform, Chai Point is focusing on using technology as an enabler to reach out to its consumers and emerge as one of the leading national brands in the space, sipping success as they move ahead.
Completely out of time on this episode of Leaders of Tomorrow. If you have anything that you want to say to us, do remember you can always write in at leadersoftomorrow@timesgroup.com. You can also reach us on social media on LOT_ET now or Sunanda_J. That's my personal Twitter handle, or on Facebook on Leaders of Tomorrow and ET Now. You can also call us on the number you see on your screen. We promise to have all your questions answered. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.